My son was 3 years and 4 months old when the Alpha King came to my door. I had been peeling turnips at the kitchen table when I heard the riders on the lane. 6 horses. Heavy horses, the kind nobody in our valley owned. I set the knife down very carefully on the wood, and I looked at Tovin, who was on the floor by the hearth, with the small wooden wolf he called the Watching Wolf, and I said his name once, quietly, in the voice I used when I needed him to understand that I needed him to understand. He looked up. "Into the loft," I said. "Up the ladder. Do not come down until I call you. Take the wolf." He went. He went without asking, which broke my heart later, when I had time for it, because a 3-year-old who knows to climb a ladder without asking has been taught that lesson, and I was the one who had taught it to him. I closed the loft hatch over him, and I smoothed my apron with hands that did not shake, because I had been practicing for 3 years and 4 months not to let them. I opened the door. Eric of the Iron Territories, Alpha King of the 17 packs, stood in my front yard with his beater and 4 of his guard. He had not yet looked at me. He was looking at my house. The thatch I had patched twice this autumn, the half-cord of firewood I had stacked myself against the western wall, the line where my last winter's washing had frozen and I had brought the linens in stiff as boards. He was looking at it all, the way a man looks at a thing he has been searching for and has decided to take exactly as he finds it. Then he looked at me. The bond came alive in my chest like a struck bell. It had been buried for 3 years and 4 months. I had built a life on top of it, the way a village builds a road over an old burying ground, knowing what was there, declining to think about it. The bell rang once, and the road cracked the length of itself. I held the doorframe. I did not let my face do anything. "Sable," he said. I had not, in 3 years and 4 months, heard anyone say my name in that voice. I had forgotten that anyone ever had. "My lord." "May I come in?" "You have 6 horses, my lord. The kitchen has 3 chairs." The beater, I did not know him, he was newer than the one I had known, made a small sound that might have been an exhale. Eric did not look away from me. "Then I will come in alone." I stepped back from the door. I was 24 years old. I had been 21 the night I met him, and 21 the morning I left, and I had spent every day since being 24 in a way that did not include him. And I had been wrong about how thoroughly I had managed it. He stooped through my doorway. He was too tall for my house. He stood in the middle of my kitchen, and he looked at the turnips, and the knife, and the bowl of water, and the apron, and the kettle on the hearth iron, and he did not look up at the loft, which was the only mercy I would receive that hour, and I knew it. "You found me," I said. "I have been looking for you for 3 years and 4 months." "You are very precise, my lord." "Yes." He did not sit. He stood in the middle of my kitchen, with his hands at his sides, and he looked at me as if he were memorizing something he had been told he might not see again. "Why did you leave?" I had prepared for this question the way a soldier prepares for a wound she knows is coming. I had prepared 3 answers: the cold one, the practical one, the kind one, and arranged them in order of how much they would cost me to say. I gave him the cold one. "You are the Alpha King of the Iron Territories. I was an Omega from a southern village no one in your council could find on a map. You had a position to consolidate. You did not need a complication." "Sable." "I did you a favour, my lord." "Sable." He said my name twice, and he said it both times as if he were setting something down that he had been carrying for a long time, and was not sure he was permitted to set down at all. And I felt the bond ring again, and I held the door frame behind me with my left hand, because my right hand was, for the first time in 3 years, beginning to shake. "I heard the beater," I said. He waited. "The morning after, in the corridor outside your chambers, he told you the council would not accept it. He told you the bond would have to be formally severed by noon. He told you the sooner you sent for the cleric, the easier it would be on me." "That beater," Eric said, very slowly, "is no longer in my service." "I imagine not." "Sable, I did not send for the cleric." "I know." "You know?" "I felt it, my lord. I felt the bond every day for 3 years. I would have known if you had severed it. You did not." He closed his eyes. "I will tell you what I saw on the face of the strongest wolf alive in the middle of my kitchen in that moment, because if I do not tell you it, I will not be able to tell you the rest. I saw a man who had been holding a question for 3 years and 4 months and had just been answered. I saw the particular stillness of a man learning that the thing he had been afraid of was not true. I saw, in a face I had spent 3 years convincing myself I did not remember accurately, the exact thing I had been afraid I would see. He opened his eyes. "Why did you not come back?" "Because I had a reason not to, that I could not explain to you in a letter." "Sable, my lord, please, tell me." I did not tell him. I did not have to. The loft hatch opened. The small wooden wolf hit the floor first because Tovin had dropped it climbing down the ladder. And then Tovin himself came down the ladder, 1 rung at a time, the way I had taught him. And he came across my kitchen floor in his small wool stockings, and he stopped in front of the Alpha King of the Iron Territories, and he looked up. "Mama," he said. "He has the same eyes as the watching wolf." Eric did not move. He did not move for what I will swear, on every season I have lived through, was a full count of 3 seconds. And 3 seconds is a long time when you have been waiting 3 years. Then he knelt. He knelt slowly. He knelt the way a man kneels when he has just understood that the ground he is on is not what he thought it was, and he is bringing himself down to the height of the person who is going to explain it to him. He knelt to my son's height, and he looked at my son's face, and he did not reach for him. He did not touch him. He did not even speak first. He waited. He waited for Tovin to speak again, because my son had already begun the conversation. And Eric of the Iron Territories knew, in that moment, exactly whose conversation it was. "What is your wolf's name?" Tovin said. "He has no name yet," Eric said. "He has been waiting to be named. My wolf is called the Watching Wolf." "That is a very good name." "Mama says you carved him." "Did she?" "She did not say it to me. She said it to the fire one night when she did not know I was there." Eric did not look at me. He kept his eyes on my son. I have, in my life, been grateful for many things. I have not in my life been more grateful than I was for the fact that the Alpha King of the Iron Territories did not look at me in the moment my son told him I had spoken his name to the fire. "What is your name?" Eric said. "Tovin." "Tovin. What is yours?" The Alpha King of the Iron Territories considered the question for what looked on his face like the most important consideration of his life. "My friends call me Eric," he said. Are we friends? I would like to be, if your mother permits it. Tovin turned his head and looked at me. He looked at me with the grave, thoughtful 3-year-old face of a small person who has been raised to ask before he commits, and I felt the bond ring a third time, and I nodded, because I could not, in that moment, speak. Yes, Tovin said. She permits it. If you have made it this far, if you are still here, still in my kitchen, still standing where I was standing, stay with me. What happens next is the part I have been afraid for 3 years to say out loud. Subscribe if you want the rest in my voice. I would like to give it to you. Eric stayed 3 days. He did not sleep in my house. He slept in the barn loft with his guard, which I knew because I watched him cross the yard at dusk with a blanket over his arm, and the kind of careful, neutral expression of a man trying very hard not to claim a square inch of ground he had not been invited onto. He came to the kitchen in the mornings. He sat in the chair by the hearth that I had been told, by my own mother, was the chair my grandfather had sat in. And he watched my son show him every object in my house that had a story. The watching wolf had a story. The chipped blue bowl had a story. The crack in the hearthstone had a story. The patch on the rag rug had a story, although Tovin's version of the story involved a wolf cub I had never told him about, which meant he had invented it, which meant my son had begun at 3 to make up his own myths, which is a thing a child does when he has been raised in a house that has run out of them. Eric listened. He listened to all of them. He listened to my son the way a king listens to a delegation he has been waiting his entire reign to receive. On the second morning, he said, without preamble, "Sable, may I speak with you?" "You are speaking with me, my lord." "Outside, where the boy will not hear." We walked to the pump. He did not touch me. He kept 3 paces between us on the path, which I noticed because 3 paces is what he had kept in the great hall on a night that I will not tell you about, because I have only enough composure for 1 accounting per lifetime. "I will not take him from you," he said. I had been holding the pump handle. I let go of it. "My lord, I will not take him from you. I am telling you that first because I want you to be able to hear the rest." I nodded. I did not trust my voice. "There are things I have to tell you," he said, "that I have been carrying for 3 years. Some of them you will not like. Some of them are mine to carry alone, and I will continue to carry them alone. But I am not going to ride out of this valley without you knowing what they are. I owe you that. I owed it to you the morning you left, and I did not get the chance to pay it. All right?" The beta, the one you heard. His name was Osric. He was my father's man. He believed, with my father, that an omega from a southern village could not hold the throne, and he believed that I was young enough to be advised out of what I felt. He was not entirely wrong about my age. He was entirely wrong about the rest. You found out he had spoken to me. 3 months later, a scullery girl told me. She had been outside the kitchen door. She had heard him. She told me what he had said, and she told me you had walked out at dawn, without your shoes, because your shoes were by the front door and you had not stopped for them. I had a second pair in my pack. I am glad. I looked at him. "I dismissed him that night," Eric said. "I dismissed him in front of the council. I have not had a beater who was my father's man since. The current beater is a man I chose. His name is Wulfric, and he has been searching for you, off the books, for 3 years. He has a wife and a daughter of his own. He understood the assignment. You did not ride the search yourself. I rode it for the first 18 months. My lord. I did. I rode every village in the southern provinces. I rode in plain clothes. I rode under a beater's banner. I did not find you because you had done something I had not anticipated. What had I done? You had not gone to your mother's people. No. Where did you go? I went to my father's. He had a sister he had not spoken to in 20 years. She lived in a village no one in the south knew the name of. She took me in for the winter without asking a single question. She died the next spring. I have lived in her house ever since. He absorbed this. I watched him absorb it. Tovin was born here, in this kitchen. Who attended you? The midwife from the next valley. I paid her with my mother's silver pin. I had nothing else. He closed his eyes. He closed them the way he had closed them when I told him I had felt the bond every day for 3 years, and he opened them more slowly this time, and he said, I'm going to have to tell you something now that I cannot, in conscience, not tell you. And it is going to be the hardest thing I have said to you yet. Tell me. My cousin Vasily knows about the boy. The bond rang a 4th time. It rang with cold. I felt it travel down my arms and into my fingers and stop in my palms, where it sat like frost. How? He has had a man watching this valley for 8 months. He did not tell me. He told the council last week. He has filed a claim that the child is a pack law foundling and must be brought to the Iron Seat for examination of his bloodline and assignment of his pack. He has filed it under the authority of the council airline, which is his while I am unmated. He has, in effect, asked the council to remove your son from your custody. I did not let go of the pump handle, because I had already let go of it once and could not afford to do it twice. When? His men were 3 days behind me. They will be here by tomorrow night. What will they do? They will try to take him. They will not succeed. No, Eric said. They will not. He looked at me the way he had looked at me in the doorway. He looked at me with the bond ringing between us like a forge bell, and he said, very quietly, Sable, I am going to ask you something. You may say no. If you say no, I will defend the boy with my life. And you will never see Vasily's men in this valley again, and you and Tovin will continue your lives in this house, and I will go home, and I will do what I have done for 3 years, which is leave you in peace. And if I say yes? If you say yes, I will name him publicly tomorrow on the open road in front of my guard and Vasily's men both. And I will name him as my son and as my heir. And I will name you as the mother of the heir of the Iron Territories. And Vasily will lose his claim on the line in the space of 1 sentence. And the rest of our lives will be the consequence of that sentence. My lord, I am not asking you to come back to the fortress with me. I am not asking you to be Luna. I am asking you to let me protect him in public, because in private I have not been allowed to, and I am willing to accept that, but I will not, Sable. I will not let him be carried out of this valley by a man who is using him as a piece on a board. And me. You I will protect either way. You do not have to ask. I let go of the pump handle. Yes, I said. You do not have to decide now. I have decided. Sable. I have decided. He is your son. He has always been your son. I have been afraid of what it would cost him to be your son, and I was wrong to be afraid alone. Name him. He did not move. He did not reach for me. He did the thing his face did when it was deciding not to do something. and then he did it anyway. He lifted his hand, and he set it very carefully on top of mine where it rested on the lip of the pump. Nothing more. He did not close his hand. He did not turn it over. He set his palm over the back of my hand, and he left it there for a count of 3, which is, as we have established, a long time. "Thank you," he said. That was the 3rd time in 3 years that anyone had said that word to me in a voice I believed. The Silly's men came at noon the next day. There were 8 of them. They came up the lane the way Eric had come up the lane, on heavy horses, with the cousin himself at the front of the column, in a grey wool coat I would later learn cost more than my house. The Silly looked, when he saw the king's banner already on my fence, the way a man looks when he has overplayed a hand he did not know was being watched. He recovered quickly. He had been raised to recover quickly. "Cousin," he said, "I had not expected to find you here. I had not advertised it. This is the woman. This is Sable, of the southern provinces. And the child? The child is in the kitchen. He is not coming out. Eric, the council has issued nothing it can enforce on this lane without a witness from the king's line. I am the king's line. I am the witness. I am also, as it happens, the second party in the matter the council was asked to rule on, and I am declining to recuse myself because this matter is no longer council business." "And why is that?" Eric did not look at me. He did not look at Vasily. He looked at the open lane and the 8 of Vasily's men and his own 4 guard and the Beta Wulfric, who was a man with a kind face and a wife and a daughter, and he raised his voice. "Because the child is mine." The lane went still in the particular way the great hall had once gone still on the night of the bread of a different woman's story. I did not know that story yet. I learned it later, in a quiet evening, from Wulfric's wife. The 2 stories do not, in the end, have much in common, except the stillness. "His name is Tovin," Eric said. "He is 3 years and 4 months old. He is the son of Sable of the southern provinces and of Eric of the Iron Territories. He is, as of this moment, the named heir of the Iron Seat. The line of succession is closed in his favour. The witnesses are present. The naming is done." The Silly did not, to his credit, drop his face. "This is highly irregular," he said. "It is. The mother of my son lived in a kitchen for 3 years and 4 months because the counsel I inherited from my father was not safe for her. The irregularity is mine. I will be answering for it in the council hall before the month is out. You may, if you like, ride ahead and tell them. Cousin, you will turn your column at the foot of this lane, and you will not return to this valley. You will not approach this house. You will not approach this woman. You will not approach this child. If you attempt to, I will know within the hour, and I will come to you, and I will not come as your cousin. Do you understand me?" I had thought I had seen Vasily recover quickly. I had not, until that moment, seen a man drained of colour from the collar up in 3 seconds. "I understand," he said. "Good. Wulfric will escort you to the valley boundary. Wulfric, if he stops, you stop with him. If he turns, you turn faster." Wulfric nodded once. He nodded with the small, efficient nod of a man who had been waiting 18 months for permission. The column moved. The column moved and Vasily moved with it, and the lane emptied of horses one by one, and I stood at my pump in my own front yard and watched the heir presumptive of the Iron Territories ride out of my life, the way he had ridden in, and the only sound in the valley for the next minute was the wind in the late autumn grass and a single distant call of a hawk. and the front door of my kitchen opened, and my son came out into the yard in his wool stockings, without permission, which was the first rule he had ever broken in his life. He did not look at the riders. He did not look at the lane. He came across the yard to where Eric was standing, and he stopped at his father's knee, and he held up the watching wolf. "I think," he said, "he is ready to have a name." Eric knelt. He knelt the way he had knelt in my kitchen the day before yesterday. He took the wolf in his 2 hands, the way he had taken my hand at the pump. "What name does he want?" Eric said. "He wants to be called Eric." "That is my name." "I know. Tovin, that is a great deal to ask of a small wolf." "He can do it." Eric did not answer for a long moment. He looked at the wolf. He looked at our son. He turned the wolf over in his hands, and he studied the place where the watching wolf had a small chip in his ear from the time Tovin had dropped him onto the hearthstone when he was 2. And then the Alpha King of the Iron Territories looked up at me from the dirt of my front yard, and he was, for the first time in our entire reacquaintance, openly asking for something. I nodded. "Eric it is," he said. When he stood holding the watching wolf in one hand and our son's hand in the other. He turned to me. "Sable." "My lord." "Eric. Eric. There is one thing I have not done that I would like to do. I have not done it because I have not earned it. I am going to ask instead. May I close the bond?" I had felt the bond ring 4 times in 3 days. I had felt it ring through every word he had said to me. I had felt it ring through every word my son had said to him. I had felt it ring through the moment he set his palm over mine at the pump. I had also felt the cost of leaving it open for 3 years. The cost was not metaphorical. The cost was the cold in my palms when Vasily was named. The cost was the fact that I had not slept a full night since I had walked out of his fortress without my shoes. "Yes," I said. He stepped toward me. The bond rang once more, harder, and I felt it bite into my ribs the way old magic bites, with a deliberate insistence, as if it had been waiting 3 years and 4 months to be allowed to finish what it had started. I felt frost gather along my collarbones. I felt the long-buried thing reach up through the floor of me and ask, finally, to be lifted. I lifted it. I lifted it, and it cost me. I tasted iron in my mouth. My knees nearly went. I did not let them. Eric reached me before I could. He took my hands. He did not pull me into him. He held my hands in his, and he let the bond do the rest of its own work. And when it had finished, when the last cold rang out of my palms and the air in the yard went warm again in the way the air goes warm after a thunderstorm has passed, he lifted my hands and he set them, very deliberately, against his own jaw. He bent and rested his forehead against mine. He did not kiss me. He did not need to. The bond had said the thing a kiss says. The kiss, when it came later that evening at the kitchen table, after our son had finally fallen asleep against his father's shoulder. And it was, I will say only this, the quietest thing I have ever survived. One sentence, in his voice, that I will keep for myself. One realization, on my part, that the 3 years had not been wasted, because the woman who married Eric of the Iron Territories 4 months later was not the woman who had walked out of his fortress without her shoes. And the woman who walked out without her shoes could not, I think, have done what the woman in the kitchen did. We were married at the harvest moon. Tovin carried the watching wolf the entire ceremony. He has not, to my knowledge, put it down for more than an hour at a time since. Vasily was stripped of his council seat within the month. He is currently steward of a coastal holding 3 weeks' ride from the Iron Seat, where he is, by all reports, very bored. I am told he writes long letters about the weather. I do not read them. Wulfric does. Wulfric reports that the weather, in the coastal holding, is fine. I did not move to the fortress. Eric moved to me for the first season. The Iron Seat ran without him for 3 months and survived it. He says the experiment was instructive. He is, I have come to learn, a man who likes to be instructed by experiments. The next season, we moved to the fortress together, with the watching wolf and the chipped blue bowl, and the chair my grandfather had sat in, and the rag rug with the patch that has a story Tovin now tells to anyone who will listen. The kitchen at the fortress is larger. The chairs are more numerous. The watching wolf has been given a shelf of his own in a long stone hall that has, until recently, been short on small wooden things. Tovin is 4 now. He calls Eric father in formal company, and Eric in private, which is, I have decided, exactly correct. He has begun to learn to read. He is teaching the watching wolf at the same time, on the grounds that the wolf has been waiting longer. It has been, I will tell you honestly, a strange thing to be loved by the Alpha King of the Iron Territories. It has been a stranger thing to discover that I had been loved by him every day for 3 years and 4 months in a kitchen I had thought he could not find. Tell me, did you guess? Did you see what was in the loft before he did? Stay with me. Leave a thought below in your own voice, and subscribe if you would like to hear the next one. There are more of these stories. They are all hers in one way or another. They are all, in the end, about being looked for. I would like you to keep listening.